Zealoters, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. A deep and dangerous shift is taking place across West Africa, and it is reshaping the entire map of continental security. For decades, the Economic Community of West African States, known as Ecowas, stood as the absolute central political authority for the region. But today, that unity is fractured. In its place, a powerful breakdown has occurred, splitting the region between established coastal democracies and a newly formed military alliance in the north. Before we look closely at how West Africa leaders are trying to fix this deep divide, please take a moment right now to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button and click the notification bell so you never miss an update on the major stories shaping our continent. Please subscribe, like, and join our community. To understand the real gravity of what is happening, we have to look directly at the words of Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama, who recently delivered a major analysis at Charter House in London. Mahama spoke clearly about the current relationship between Ecowas and the newly created Alliance of Sahel States, known as the AES. He explained that the Sahel region has become the global epicenter of severe T groups activities. Three specific neighbors, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, are currently bearing the full violent brunt of these cross-border insurgencies.
The partnership we signed just formalizes a very excellent cooperation that we've had with the European Union and other countries. As you know, the Sahel region of West Africa has become the epicenter of terrorist activity. And three of our neighbors, which are the Sahelian nations, are bearing the full brunt of terrorist activity. The situation is particularly difficult in Mali, but it also affects Burkina Faso and Niger. We had previously a framework for cooperation in the fight against terrorism, which was called the Accra Initiative. Unfortunately, with the souring of relations between the Sahelian states and the Ecowas, which led to the formation of the Alliance of Sahelian States, the Accra Initiative has virtually been abandoned. And so what I've done since I became president was to seek new pathways and build new bridges for cooperation between ECOWAS and the AES states, because after all, terrorism is not a threat to only one nation, it's a threat to all of us. And so we need to work together.
Right across borders.
Exactly. And so it needs international cooperation to deal with it. And so for Ghana, our attitude has been to cooperate with everybody who is interested in the fight against terrorism. So we have relations with the United Kingdom. We share intelligence in terms of terrorism. We do joint exercises, training programs with the UK, with Germany, with France, with the United States. Yeah, and I think that's the way to go.
And I'm really interested in this, which has got a lot of media coverage of you putting Ghana as a kind of bridge between ECOWAS and Burkina, Mali and Niger. How in practice does that work? How can you get some kind of dialogue with those three?
When I came to the presidency, I met an atmosphere of distrust. The Sahelian states had just broken off from the ECOWAS and declared their confederation. And ECOWAS there was no talking with each other. Indeed, the atmosphere was adversarial. It was like, okay, you've broken away, and it's like everybody wanted their pound of flesh. And so the first thing to do was to convince ECOWAS that it was not the way to go, and that we should reach out to them. And so I paid a first visit to all three states because I had invited them to my inauguration, and they very, very graciously attended at a very high level. Ibrahim Traore was there personally, and then the other two nations were represented by their prime ministers. And by Africa tradition, you go and say thank you for that. And so I visited all the 3 countries, but it gave me the opportunity to begin to sound out, how we can create a rapprochement with them. Happily, the relation has thawed, and I think that there's more, discussion and contact about our common future between ECOWAS and the AES states.
Is it your view that countries outside the region are helping fuel that terrorism?
Yes, I believe that the solution is multinational. It goes beyond just the region. There are many countries with an interest in what is happening there. One, the collapse of Libya contributed, Gaddafi in Libya contributed to what is happening there because it became a conduit route into the Sahel, especially when a lot of terrorist groups were eliminated in the Middle East, in Syria and other places. They found safe haven coming through Libya into the Sahel. Now what happened was the Tuaregs in Mali had a grievance about marginalization, and they had started asking for an autonomous region that they call Azawad. And so that discussion had been going on and the tensions existed. Now what has happened is these other groups, Al-Qaeda groups and all of them, ISIS, have come and exploited the legitimate grievances of the Tuaregs, and that has been the point of entry. But we cannot have peace in the Sahel without involving Algeria. We cannot have peace in the Sahel without involving Mauritania. And so I think that it must be a larger discussion than just ECOWAS.
Thank you, Samuel Badu, and others, which is whether you will sign the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill.
Oh, wow.
Your Parliament has passed. We're speaking on the first day of Pride, of the month of Pride here, and there is a lot of interest in Ghana, as well as here in the UK and in Europe. What you will do on this?
The Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill has been a bill that has probably evoked the most interest in Ghana. It shows how, important issues of family values are.
It is not the only reason Ghana is in the news. It has been one.
Yeah. Parliament has been considering it, and it was supposed to have been passed last week. There have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed. That's an issue that has come up. And then 2, there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage. I just got some communication that the Speaker was reading a statement to address the issue of the lapses in the passage of the bill. And so, like I said, when I was the opposition leader, the President has a number of options in this matter. It must come for assent. And so once the President gets it, you go through it because you're not part of the discussion in Parliament. And so the legal representative, the legal counsel in the Presidency and the Attorney General would sit on it because it was a private member's motion. This was not a government bill. And so we'll look at it and make sure that everything is in order before the President is advised to assent. The President has another option. If there are some things that he thinks are a problem, he can refer to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State is an advisory body to the President, and so they'll take a look at it, and then they will advise the President. And if there are issues, substantial issues that are raised, the President would return the bill to Parliament, indicating exactly what the issues are. And so there's still quite a while to go before that bill becomes law.
Thank you for setting that out so clearly. Let me ask you one final one, which is about the Commonwealth.
Our relations with South Africa continue. We do not have any breach in our diplomatic relations. What happened was that it's not the first time there have been these xenophobic attacks in South Africa. They say we shouldn't call it xenophobia. I don't know what else, other name you can give it. But there have been these surges in anti-foreign attacks. And normally those who bear the brunt are fellow Africans from neighboring states, Mozambique, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and before Nigeria. Lately, Ghanaians have gotten involved. This is the first time we've really had Ghanaians getting part of the direction of attacks. We had a situation where people went on rampage, locked the shops of foreigners, and many of the Ghanaians and other West Africans there come with some skills like nail work, barbering, weaving of hair, the cosmetic and beautician industry. And so when the rampage took place and their shops were locked, and it was dangerous to go out because if you were identified as foreign, you could be attacked. And there were even forays into health institutions. And if you were not South African, you were asked to leave the hospital, even if you were ill. It created a very, toxic atmosphere. And many of our citizens rushed to our embassy because they were displaced, especially those who came from Durban and other places. They sought refuge in our embassy. And so at a point we had nearly 200 of our citizens in our embassy. And it didn't look like the South African authorities were doing anything to try to quell what was happening and also to provide protection to those who had been displaced. And so we had no option but to evacuate our citizens. And so we did a first evacuation flight. We're going to do 2 more to take those who want to leave. It's voluntary. We ask, do you want to stay or you want to leave? And many of them say they feel threatened, and so they want to leave. But I think it's unfortunate what is happening in South Africa. We need to drill down to what causes these flare-ups in terms of xenophobia. I think that there might be some structural issues in there that are a carryover of the apartheid era. And so all of us must empathize with South Africa, we must sympathize with South Africa, and we must help South Africa to be able to drill down and find out what it can do to reduce the unemployment rates amongst the black populations, and to also change the mindset that people who have come to your country are taking your jobs. Really, let all the Africans leave. After the last fellow African leaves, is it going to change unemployment among blacks in South Africa? After the last shop has been closed and everybody has left, is it going to change unemployment in South Africa? There's something in there that the South African government must put a finger on and start a process of reforming so that, every country benefits from migration. There are lawyers here in the UK, there are surgeons, there are doctors, there are Ghanaian healthcare workers working in the NHS. In Ghana, we have fellow Africans working in Ghana. There are South Africans, there are Sudanese, there are, Nigerians, and everybody brings some advantage. They either bring their knowledge or they bring investments. And I think we should get over this fear of, foreigners coming into our countries.
Thank you. On that.
The roots of these crises run deep, and the global community must understand the genesis of how the security vacuum began. Mahama tracked the issue directly back to international events, explaining that the ultimate collapse of Muammar Gaddafi's government in Libya created a massive uncontrollable conduit route for heavy weaponry and combatants to pour straight down into the Sahel. This dangerous flow was made significantly worse when various global T groups were squeezed out of the Middle East. Looking for a new base of operations, these networks found a perfect safe haven by moving through Libya and embedding themselves directly into the vast borderline of the Sahelian nations. Once inside the region, these radical networks clearly exploited real, historic domestic issues. In northern Mali, the Tuareg population had long-standing grievances regarding economic marginalization by central government, and they had been demanding autonomous region called Azawad. While peaceful political discussions had been ongoing for years, global extremist groups moved in and hijacked these legitimate local grievances. They used the tension as strategic entry point to destabilize the state, dismantle regional authority, and establish an entrenched network of tea across the countryside. According to him, in response to this growing threat, West African nations originally created a corporate security framework called the African Initiative to jointly fight terrorism across national borders. However, when military coups took place in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, relations between these three Sahelian states and Ecowas rapidly soured. Heavily pressured by external political interests, the relationship became deeply adversaries, with each side aggressively demanding its own political pound of flesh. This bitter split ultimately led the three nations to officially break away from ECOWAS and form their own separate confederation, the Alliance of Sahel States. As a direct result of this political warfare, the African Initiative has been virtually abandoned. But as the world looks on at this dangerous diplomatic freeze, West African leadership is quietly realizing that fighting terrorism with political isolation is a recipe for continental disaster. Security threats do not respect diplomatic standoff, and terror networks naturally thrive when neighboring countries stop speaking to one another. Because of this, a conscious effort is being made to build new pathways and construct fresh bridges of economic communication between ECOWAS and the AES states. Leadership has recently engaged in high-level diplomatic outreach, conducting personal state visits to Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to break ice, lower political tension, and rebuild rapport. This renewed dialogue is a critical step forward, but the ultimate success of securing West Africa depends entirely on understanding that the solution must be multinational and reach far beyond the standard borders of ECOWAS. The reality that the world must confront is that a sustainable peace cannot be achieved in the Sahel without directly involving major northern neighbors like Algeria and Mauritania. Security in this region requires a massive coordinated framework that shares intelligence, coordinates joint military training exercise, and coordinates a border control across entire landscape. West Africa stands at a critical turning point. The old political structures are cracking under the weight of regional division, and the threat of instability is knocking directly on the doors of the coastal nations. The challenge for this generation of leaders is whether they can put aside political grievances, look past ideological difference, and build a unified, comprehensive security alliance that protects the people of West Africa, or if they will allow diplomatic pride to fracture the continent and leave the door open for external forces to dictate the region's future. The ball is in our court. And we know very well that the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso said that they left ECOWAS because the ECOWAS community is not doing what they want. It's not protecting the people. And this was confirmed by the ECOWAS chairperson, Julius Maada Bio, at Davos, that they protect borders instead of protecting the people. John Mahama is also calling on the diaspora to come back home. Home sweet home. Africa is your origin. No matter how much we try to wash away our blackness, we will still remind ourselves that we are Africans, because wherever we go, everybody sees you as the African, accepting who you are, and coming back home is the most beautiful thing. But a lot of people think that when we say they should come back home, we want them to come and help build Africa. And without them, we cannot do anything. That is not the case. We are one people, regardless of what the situation might be. Home, sweet home. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, and in Ghana.